Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by the Real Estate Cheat Code. I have Marilyn Mason with me from the Mason team at Remax Premier Choice, and super excited to have you on the show today, Marilyn. Thanks so much for your time and, just coming on here and just talking about, your real estate journey.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, John. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Marilyn, where we always start, on the Tell Me More podcast is going back to early childhood and just growing up. And, as I've interviewed, other top performing agents over the years, I typically find that there's something that happens usually early in their life or early in their career life that has had a big impact in real estate.
Yes.
And a lot of times we don't take time to actually stop and reflect on the past. And so I'm just curious for you, what was life growing up? Are you from here? Did you grow up somewhere else? Did you have any hobbies, interests? Kind of walk me through childhood up to high school, career, college those days.
Okay, great. Well, my father was in the service originally, and so we moved all the time. And my parents being married 21 years, we moved 19 times. And, reflecting on that, having come into real estate, and we'll talk how I did that, I think I was always the new kid. I was always the new one. And so I would reach out and start the newcomers club and, because I had to make friends because I didn't know if in a year or so I would live somewhere else. So originally I'm from Long Island, New York, and then my father took a position in Columbus, Ohio, and I ended up going to high school. I was high school age there, high school and college here. And then I've been blessed to raise my family here. And I think, obviously, being in real estate and starting the entrepreneurial position, I did that too. So I wouldn't have to move. I did all the moving. I do it now in my business, but it was kind of interesting. And so hobbies, travel is one of my big things. And my father and my mother and my brother and I'm one of two siblings. We traveled all throughout the world, and I've done that since. So I love traveling, reading, and I'm a big people person, and I just enjoy the friendships and the family that I have.
Yeah. Who would have thought, obviously back then I'm a person that went to 3 different schools growing up. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously we don't like it in the moment, but
right.
it has served us.
Yeah, for sure.
In our current career, right?
It has.
So Marilyn, kind of lead me up to, kind of had to move around, right? And eventually land in Columbus, Ohio. Did you end up going to college, or did you join the career field? Kind of like, what was that first step, once you graduated high school?
Right. Well, I always wanted to work, and I felt I wanted to do something in corporate America because my father, after his stint in the Air Force, he went into corporate America. So I grew up in that kind of environment. I'm very blessed, John, to have both my parents. My father is 93 and doing wonderfully. My mom is going to be 90. And so my dad has really been my advocate about, why don't you try corporate and then see where else you might land? So I was anxious to do that. I went to Otterbein in Westerville, and I'm a original Worthington graduate. We don't like to say the old high school. I'm just an original Worthington high school graduate. And then graduated from Otterbein. I actually graduated in 3 years. I pushed really hard because I wanted to get out and work. And so then I was in corporate America. I was a sales trainer for NCR for a number of years, and I worked with Volkswagen of America for a number of years. And then after that stint, I was home with my children for a while, and then that transitioned me into real estate.
Now, I'm just curious, obviously the dynamics of college and higher education and all that stuff has changed over the years. did you go to, what did you go to college for? What did you graduate for? And did you jump into the career field based off of that degree, or is it something completely different?
That's such a great question, because so many people say, so what kind of education did you have to become a real estate agent? I go, well, so I have two majors, and I have the undergraduate degree, but I have a major in public relations and in English writing, and I have a psychology minor. And I will tell you, yeah, marketing and PR and being able to write has been helpful. Psychology, who would have known? That minor that my dad said, why are you even taking it? You'll never use it. I use it the most.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you go to school, but then you said your first job was in the sales training?
Yes. Yeah.
Was it just kind of what was available, or is it something that did sales pique your interest?
Well, because my dad was in sales, that's how he started. And, I just always wanted to work, and I always enjoyed sales. And even when I was like 11, I'd be selling lemonade. I'd be trying to bring other kids in. We could make money, take the money, donate it to somebody. I mean, I've always had that kind of sales personality and just the love of it. So when I graduated, I tried to get lots of jobs, and then ended up with NCR, and then they put me into training after I had sold for a year or so for them.
So was it more natural for you, or is it just more of the family dynamics of your dad?
It's just natural.
Yeah.
I think I was born that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm always curious, right? Because, the reason why I love doing these, and you and I had spoke on the phone a couple weeks ago, I think sometimes people think of real estate and real estate agents in our industry a certain way, right? And the reality is that the majority of us have come from different career paths, right? Real estate is usually not the first choice for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I always tell my agents when I'm like, we're not selling a phone to where if they leave today, our store, if they leave our store today, they're going to a different store and buying a phone from them, right? A lot of what we do is, yes, we are quote unquote salespeople, but we're not really a salesperson, right? We're more of an advisor. And so I feel like sometimes people think they have to be like this cold-blooded, sales skills and be aggressive on the phone and all. And that's just definitely not the case. So I'm always curious of the whole, are you more of a natural salesperson, or is this going to be more of a skill set that you learned along the way?
No, I think I just naturally had that personality. But I think, John, you made a good point. All of us being independent contractors, we all have the opportunity to grow our business the way we want to do it. And, over the years, and I've been doing this a long time, it's really been real estate success through building remarkable relationships. Now, is that because I have an outgoing personality, or I've been told that. Now, I'm not sure if I do have an outgoing personality, but is it because of that, or is it because I'm really committed to the relationship building? And so the sales aspect of that, I've never been a transaction specific agent. I want to spend my days doing what is important and what gives me value as well as others. And it's just blending all the ingredients that have brought us to life to the point where we do go into real estate, and people can go in right out of school. They can go in as second careers. And that's the beauty of the industry we have, is that flexibility.
Yeah. And it's really, and I get a lot of flack when I say this, I always say real estate's simple, but hard, right? Like the principles of real estate are simple. And you just said it's remarkable relationships. I want to use that because it is just that. It's just how many conversations did you have today with people? right? And in today's world with social media, like people know if you're talking and posting about social, real estate and stuff on social media, and you're having conversations with people, they're going to know that you do real estate. And then it's just a matter of time building the remarkable relationship to be in a position to be in front of them when they decide to do something in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Marilyn, I'm just curious, just going down your career journey, you go to Volkswagen, I think you said VW of America, and then, more of the stay-at-home mom, I believe you said you were staying at home. And then, so what was it about real estate? When did you decide real estate? What year was it? And why real estate?
This is another great question. I had no desire to do real estate. Life events had come up and I had to go back in the workforce, and I didn't want to go back into corporate. I didn't want to, because I had to have certain flexibility with my two children. I have a son and a daughter, and I needed to have that ability. So a very good friend of mine was a developer in Columbus, and he came to me because we were friends and said, I know you don't know what to do right now, but if you'd come and be an office person in my company, he said, I would love to have you there. And I've known you all these years. We met in another venue. And so I went to work for him. And after a week, he came to me and he said, you're fired. I said, I'm fired. I said, I've been here every day and I stay after, and, I take on responsibility. And he said, what I'd like you to do? He said, I would like you to consider going into real estate. He said, you have the innate ability and you can learn how to do it. And I really feel that that's what you should do. I had not ever thought about it. And I remember going home and I was talking with an uncle of mine, like a second father. And he said, you can learn real estate. He said, I think you should do it, because I'd had some leadership roles in the community before. And he said, all you have to do is learn real estate and then transition people over to, this is another aspect of Marilyn Mason, is now you're a real estate agent. So that's how it started. It was completely a surprise to me.
I'm going to circle back to what you just said there, because I think that is an important piece to anyone trying to get into the business is the whole identity thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna come back to that. If I forget, please remind me. But I'm curious. Real estate, it's 100% commission business, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people typically are like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you really want to go 100%, commission based?" We live in a world where people believe that a secure job is a 9-to-5 or a salary, and us that are 1099 business owners, entrepreneurs will tell you that's not true. But Marilyn, when you decided to do that, to make that step, did you have more supporters? Did you have doubters? Where did kind of your inner circle fall? Because I'm always curious, and people are motivated by different things. I'm just curious of kind of where your inner circle fell on that spot.
Well, I have very supportive family, parents, children, grandchildren now. And I've always had a very good support group of friends and all. And anyone who knows me, if I make up my mind that there's something I'm going to do, then I'm going to do it. I will be successful. I will achieve it because I'm very committed. And so I think once the decision, I did have a lot of angst about the decision, not as much about could I work in commission, because I felt I could, but more I just felt a little concerned about the time. Because real estate agents I had known up until that point in time had burned out. They had been agents, then they burn out, or they weren't as successful anymore. They didn't maintain a certain value and quality as they continued their years in that journey. So that was more my concern, not could I do it and would the money come? Because I think when you do what you really love to do and you do it well and you do it with commitment, the money will come if that's how you've postured yourself.
Yeah, I love that you use the word commitment. I always talk to my agents about making it a priority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, is it a priority? Like, and I like to ask the question, like, why real estate, right? Because you can go and make, you know, money and good money doing anything in today's world, especially with the internet and all that kind of stuff. Like, but what's specifically about real estate is, you know, why did you get into this business? And, you know, if you're not having success, it's probably more of a commitment or a priority, you know, misalignment than anything. Either you're committed to the process or you're not. Now, I want to talk to you kind of about like the beginning years for you. And you mentioned, you know, I'll use the word identity, but having people look at you as a real estate agent as opposed to what they saw you as before. And I talk to a lot of agents about this when they transition from another career path, or if they're trying to do real estate, you know, at the same time of doing their current career to help with that transition of really getting your SOI, your sphere of influence, and the people around you to now start seeing you as a real estate agent as opposed to what they saw you before. And I think sometimes working with family is the hardest to do this with, is because they see you, like, you know, they see you as, you know, the daughter, this, you know, the sister, the cousin, the niece, the, you know, whatever, the nephew, the uncle, whatever it is, right? They don't actually see you as a real estate professional. But Marilyn, when you made that switch and you worked on kind of getting people to see you as a real estate agent, what was the first couple years like for you in real estate? Was it instant success? Were there struggles? How did you focus on building your business?
Well, I think I was fortunate, John. As I said, I had community leadership roles prior to. So those people, as I reached out to my sphere and that group of sphere, they knew I could do a well planned execution of a job. If they gave me a task, I could get it done. So they had seen me in, you know, a non-paying capacity, but the ability to excel in that capacity. So I was very fortunate because within that first year, now not the first few months, but within the first year, I had 5 listings. And I think when you're able to have listings, your journey is easier because your name is out there. They see your sign. You are marketing a specific, I have this listing, and there is some automatic credibility that comes from the fact you have a sign. You know, the sign is there. So I didn't have quite the struggle that some do to kind of kick off if they're working with buyers only. So I really think because I was in those other roles and the ability to network was already there because I networked in those other community roles, that networking on my own real estate behalf that I had started that business wasn't that difficult, and people were just very gracious to give me opportunities.
How did they, did you focus on any, you know, anything in, you know, with that, right? Obviously that you had a, you know, work history with them, social proof with them of who you were, your character, all of those things. But did you have to overcome anything from showing them that you knew what you were talking about when it came to real estate?
Yeah, I think so. But, you know, I had a situation when I first got one of my listings where it wasn't selling. And at that time, and that was, you know, a few years ago, but at that time, you know, if you were on the market 90 days, believe it or not, people, houses used to be on the market 90 days as a norm. They went out to talk to another real estate agent.
Yeah.
While I had the listing, because they didn't feel, even though they knew me in another capacity, that I maybe had that quality that they needed to sell their home. And
Yeah.
I want to tell you, I started right away going to the Realtor Association meetings, to going to other companies, because we're in an industry where we have that great opportunity, even though we are competing with other agents, we are co-oping. We have such an unusual industry that we're able to do that. So I knew a lot of the local agents because I would go and I would meet them. And I want to tell you, the agent they went to was Phil Giesler, who is Cam Taylor. And Phil came to me, and I want to share this because this is so encouraging about really supporting our fellow agents. He came to me and he said, I want you to know your clients called me and asked me to come out and talk to them. And they told me what you had suggested and things you wanted to do and what I thought. And I told them to give you a chance, that I knew you only recently in the business, but all your ideas were what I would have done. And I wanted to tell you, Marilyn, that I know you can do this and you're going to do a great job. And isn't that, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those things where the first 7-8 years of my career, I did not focus on that at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I always say, as I got wiser, I got older and wiser, you know, understanding that relationships with our peers is almost equally as important as building relationships with our clients, because you know, I just know from when the market was crazy, you know, 2-3 years ago, that deals have gotten done because of relationships that I've had, not just for me, but agents on my team, you know, and all that stuff. Deals have gotten done just because of and so if you're listening right now, follow Marilyn's advice, not my advice. Don't wait 8 years into your career. Start early.
Well, and you know, John, I think too, you know, life is short and you have to have passion and purpose, and do what you're doing with energy and commitment, and just a joy about it. And if you have built good relationships with other agents in our business, and not limited to your company or, you know, a certain area, it is so much more fun. And you are doing your clients a service, and they are, because you've got good communication, again, with terrific relationship. And it's going to help you. It's going to be easier. It's going to help your clients get to that closing table. And it just, it makes everything better if you have good communication, not just with clients, but with those other agents. And it's a joy for me when I see an agent that I know I've worked with over the years, and I've got an in contract right now. And she called me up today and she goes, I was so excited it was your house, and I'm so excited we're in contract. And I know when something comes up, because things do, she said, you and I will take care of it and we're going to get this closed. How great is that?
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, we are, as salespeople, right, we have to be competitive, right? But at the same time, we need to work together for the common goal, which, you know, if you're representing the buyer, is to help them buy the house. And if you're representing the seller, it's to help them sell the house, right? And it doesn't have to be combative, right? I mean, you know, it's like you said, it's communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's so much angst right now, John, that I'm seeing lots of different areas, but certainly in our business. And I think to have angst with the team that's coming together in these transactions isn't helpful. And one of the skills as real estate agents is we have to be able to manage not only our buyer, our seller, but you're managing the transaction, but you're managing the behavioral styles of those other agents too, to create less of this anxiety. And it's almost like sometimes I'll pick up the phone and I'll say to somebody, hi, it's Marilyn Mason with Remax. Just want to ask you a question, pick your brain. And I did that last week, and this agent has been in the business a short time, but long enough. I don't have time I said, oh, okay, well, that's fine. When do you have time? I'll call you back. I don't know. I'll get back to you. And literally the agent just dismissed me. And, never do that in this business. And if you do it, be prepared. I've done it one time in 29 years, and I'm okay with that. But otherwise, you don't burn these bridges, because this communication, this is our life. You're spending all these hours doing this in your livelihood, and you don't ever know if you're going to be with that person across the table. And it's so important. And I see less and less in the different groups I'm in and working with other agents, less and less of that communicative, cooperative situation that we used to have. And I see it a little less today.
Yeah. You mentioned, Marilyn, you've been in the business, 20 some years. And I'm just curious, how did you build your business? Was it just strictly SOI? And then obviously, there was a big recent change. I'm curious of, how did you navigate, the recession, all of those things? Like, how did you build your business? And then how do you navigate those times where, you might need to make a pivot in the business and some changes?
Yeah. I'll start with what you just said as your last comment. Pivoting in this business. I have always been diverse. I've always diversified. I don't only do one thing. Do I work in residential real estate? Yes. Do I work in new builds? Yes. Do I work with investors? 100%. I started in commercial for a brief time, so I have good connectors there, and so I'll, bring them in when I need to. But I think diversification is important. When I saw in the years of like 2006, 7, and 8, agents who had been only relocation, put every single egg in that basket of doing that, they had really big issues because relocation flatlined.
Yeah.
So I think diversity and making sure you have a lot of different funnels to bring you business is important when different things segue, because they do. Real estate is up and is down. So that was one of the things that has helped me maintain. The other thing is, this is not an easy job. It's a business, it's a career, and you have to work hard. And I've worked hard. And I think when it's almost done because the individual doesn't realize what the commitment is and the time and the effort, they're not going to succeed because they thought it was easy. It was easy to come in, easy to make money. And that's not the case. And easy, even if you're able to do that for a period of time, won't give you longevity. But the basic foundation of this business and my success has been the relationships, and also having good support. For me, this has not been done alone at all. I mean, my son was an agent with me for 10 years. He's not right now. He got married, has a family, and went in a different direction. But he was in my company. My daughter for 7 years was in my company. And, I've always had great admin team agents, and that support gave me insulation and also commitment to keep being successful so I could support that environment for them as well. And I think that was a motivator for me too.
It's always interesting, because every time I bring someone on here, they mentioned a team. And when I say team, doesn't necessarily have to be your team, right? Like, you don't have to be on a team, you don't have to run a team, but some form of mentor, some form of someone that has guided you through the process, or in your case, a support team, right? Or a physical real estate team, or whatever it may be. And I think that, the solo agent versus team agent, I think that whole dynamic is always interesting. to me. I am a someone who started on a real estate team and still on the same team. I've never left. Been here since the day one of my career.
Right.
And like I always tell people, the reason why I love doing these things and the reason why, my North Star is to positively impact the failure rate of our industry. It's because I was kind of like you, like I was put into a situation where I didn't have the initial struggles that a lot of agents in our industry do. And it wasn't because of me. I mean, I still had to put in the work, right? But it was because of the team around me at the time, a team lead, a mentor, a coach, all of those things that, helped me guide myself down that path.
Right. Well, Jon, I do coach and I do motivational speaking and I do some other things. And I think from having done those things too, it has reinforced that team work is always a happier. You're sharing with others. You don't need a physical real estate team in the fact that it's the Mason team. But every time you build all your networking of people, your home inspectors, your lenders, your title companies, your agents that are your go-to, your mentors, your brokers, whomever, you have created a team. You are not doing this entirely on your own. And I say to agents who don't have teams, don't choose to have them, or are not in a position to grow one, it's not necessary. You have a team and you can go in when you're meeting that buyer and you're meeting that seller and you're doing all that. You can go in and say, I have a team. Here are some people I can share with you. Here are some other people that we might bring in to help in this process. And so you do have a team for sure.
Yeah, it's something that, when I first joined Ryan, it was just him and I, and I was 22 I was 22 years old and getting into the business. So I looked like I was 18, could barely help anyone sell a house. And I had no experience in real estate, no experience in sales. And like, that's what we would leverage, would be like, hey, at Keller Williams, I had the person that worked the front desk. I had, my inspectors, I had my lenders, and I had the brokerage numbers to utilize, and like all of those things, right? That became my team. That became, my environment. Marilyn, I'm just curious, over the years, has anything in real estate, stood out to you as a pivotal moment in your business?
There's certainly been milestones, if you will, but I think my career, Jon, has changed. It has evolved, and there's been that ability to pivot depending on whether it's been a market change, life changes, different things. You have to be flexible. I mean, I have on my desk in the other office there a huge Gumby. So Gumby, for people who are not young enough to know what that is, old enough, whatever, it's this big green creature, and it can go this way and go that way and be flexible. And if I were not a very good Gumby, I could not do what I've done all these years, because different things happen and it does pivot you. And Jon, you had said in part of your other question before about what's going on in our industry, and if I could just share a thought on that.
Sure.
I have not had issues with our changes since August 17th. Okay, because in my model and my business structure and plan, we always signed buyers. Always. So showing them a different contract or something like that, it was not difficult. I think where some agents are having difficulty with that process is you have got to understand and be able to communicate your value. Do you have value? And if you can communicate to that consumer that value is there, then they will see you should be compensated for that value. But that starts with you And that starts with your ability to communicate what your value is. And have we had on the team, have we had a situation since that happened where someone didn't want to sign? Yes. But we do buyer meetings before we ever sign people up on the buy side. So we've had buyer meetings prior to August 17th where people didn't want to sign with us for whatever reason. And that was fine. So is it because we have a new situation that we've had one person that didn't want to sign since August 17th? No, it's just simply they didn't want to sign, or they didn't see the value, or the other thing is we weren't a fit. You know, sometimes you're not a fit. And that's why as many agents as we have in the Columbus area, that's good because different behavior styles work well with others. But this is only an issue and a problem if you as the agent see it as one. It is so minor in my conversation with buyers. The conversation about what the seller should or shouldn't do, it's their choice on commission for the buyer company if they want to compensate or not. It's so minor in the conversation of what I'm having with the consumers. And I think if it's being made larger, it's really not the consumer. It's the way it's being explained by the real estate consultant.
Yeah, we are like you. I've been operating buyer agreements since 2012. I got licensed end of 2011, so really 2012 is probably when we started rolling it out. And just last year, it's a year and a half ago, and I just did a training on this today. But my coach said, you know, value unarticulated is value unappreciated.
Yes.
And so value does not have to be the big things, the shiny things. You know, obviously, yes, that is some of it, but it's also the small things. Like you mentioned, you answer your phone, right? Like, you know, if that's important to a buyer or a seller, then that's value to them. You know, availability, you know, Monday through Sunday, that will be value to some people, right? And so value unarticulated is value unappreciated. And that just sticks in my head because if we're not actually explaining it and talking to our clients about it, small things, medium-sized things, big things, and large things, then we don't, you know, the consumer, buyer and or seller, doesn't know exactly what you're doing for them. And so I think these buyer agreements take note of what Marilyn said is we sit down and we have a consultation, right? We go over not just, you know, who I am as the agent or our team or what, but we talk about the market. We educate, right? We show them that we know what we're talking about. We show them what we're going to, you know, do for them and how we're going to guide them based off of their goals. And so, Marilyn, we're just like you. We've been doing it for a decade now, and yeah, we still have situations where, you know, leads or whatever don't want to sign something to see a house, but I think that will obviously change as time goes on. That just becomes a little bit easier, and the consumers know, you know, what's the new dynamics of real estate.
Well, and I think for agents to feel this is an obstacle, that's your mindset. It's not an obstacle. It's just like someone said to me today, you know, because not the ability to see in MLS our commission structure for buyer agents when we're a buyer agent. I said, do you know what an opportunity that is? Because those buyer agents are going to call to ask you about your listing. Yay.
Yeah.
So you say, I'm happy to tell you about the compensation, but I'm so excited you're going to go see this house. And here's the attributes. And thank you for calling me. I mean, they didn't call before and now they're calling. Okay. And maybe they're calling because they want to know what the compensation is on the listing. But what a great plus that we can talk about the property. It's not an obstacle. It's not a problem in agents calling you to ask about compensation. It's a gift. They've given you an opening to talk about your listing. What fun.
Yeah. Marilyn, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, and I want to kind of start thinking, asking you some questions about where you think your business is going to go, where you want it to go, all of those things. Just curious, do you have any goals? You know, it's the end of 2024, going into 2025. Do you have any goals that you set your mind to for next year?
Absolutely. I think you have to have goals on a yearly basis, a monthly basis, a weekly basis. And even if you don't achieve the goals you have, you will achieve so much more by having set them out there. And I think while we're making our business goals for 2025, we have to make our personal goals too, to put them in tandem together so we don't forget that it's a mesh of both. It's not one goal set, it's your life goal set. And so you're going to have both of them. So my goal next year is to have more time set aside to be in front of my past clients. There's only so much time in a day, and we are always running around I've tried to get 28 hours in a day, but it is clear I am not the one person that's going to get 28 hours. I'm only going to have 24. So I want to have more and I'm very good at time managing, but I want to have time set aside where I can go and be face to face. I think it's so important. It gives me personally such joy. And for the individual, and I'm not talking hours, I'm talking 15 minutes. I'm talking just stop by. I'm talking a half an hour coffee date. But I want to do that. Number one, I want to do that to continue keeping the pipeline going. But that's secondary. I want to do it because I enjoy it. These are the easy people. They've already worked with me. Maybe I've worked with their friends or their children or their mothers, their fathers. And it helps to keep me energized to go do what I'm doing. So I really, in my time management plan for 2025, I want to make sure that I'm doing more of the face-to-face. That time was not allotted this year to do as much as I would have liked.
I love that. Going back to what you really said, remarkable relationships, right? So Marilyn, what's a 5-year goal for you?
Oh, I have 5-year goals. I have 10-year goals. It's funny, John, because I'm in a Zoom group with agents in the country. And it's so funny because there were some younger agents than myself in this group. And last week they said, so Marilyn, what are you going to do in 10 years? Are you going to be in real estate? Are you going to be doing this in 15 years? I love what I do. And until such time as I would not love it, or until such time as I would feel I was not good at what I did, I would never want to be doing and handling all the moving pieces we do and not feel that I was successful and efficient at that. But I want to continue to help people to just facilitate in this very special opportunity that we as real estate agents get. You become like family in a minute. You become like, they tell you way more things, not just about the buying and selling of the houses, but I don't ever want to give that up. So in 5 years, I want to be doing exactly what I'm doing. I want to try to grow my coaching business more, and not so much that I need to have more business, but I think agents need to have more support. I think right now, agents in some situations, they're flailing. They don't know what to do. They don't feel they have the support. I like to be an educator. I like to help from the experience that I've gone through to maybe help them. And I would like to do that, not because I need to grow the business necessarily, but I'd like to help, and some of the community things that I've done, I do, we support school drives, supply drives. We do some of those things. I want to allocate a little more time to do that because it's important. I just finished today. I cannot tell you my fingers from wrapping presents, but it's been so fun. So this year, I take 2 elementary schools, and with the help of title companies and different clubs that I'm in and all, we're able to support these families and do their holiday gift drive. And I mean, I had my grandson the other night helping me wrap because it was just so much. And he just turned 17 yesterday. I can't even believe it. But it was such an experience for him to say, wow, Grandma, I can't believe someone wouldn't have this at Christmas. And it's important to grow your community involvement, because I think real estate agents, we're doing this, you're trying to work in the business, you're trying to work forward and build your pipeline, but you need to give. And I want to see in the 5-year, the 10-year, that I'm giving more, because you give, you get back. And you don't give to get back, but I'm telling you, I know what you get back is so much more than what you gave. 100%.
I love that. Marilyn, what's a legacy goal for you?
Oh, I have a few of them. You know, I think we're only here, even though some of us get to be here longer than others. But I think the legacy goal for me, if we are you talking specific business or just me in general?
Just in general. Yeah. Whatever you want it to be.
Okay. I think they're tied together. That was the point I wanted to make. For some people, I think they have business legacy ideas versus personal, and mine's together. As I said, and I keep going back to the realtor, the relationship and all of that, it's just been that I've been able to impact people. And you don't even know what your impact or the seeds you've sown have been. So I think the legacy is just the fact that I've had this opportunity and I've been able to do this. I was in a store last week, and I'll tell you, talk about legacy. So when I'm gone, maybe this will be the case. I don't know. But this little boy comes up to me and he goes, I know who you are. And I'm looking at him, and it's a grocery store, and I've got my groceries. And I said, oh, you do? And he said, you sold my best friend Johnny's house. And he said, and I don't like you at all. And his mother comes up and she said, oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Mason. I'm so sorry. I said, no, that's okay. And I got down on my knees and I said, well, you know, Johnny had to move and he didn't want to leave you. I said, but I hope that you're not going to be mad at me very long. And I said, I just was trying to do my job. I said, but I would never want you to feel sad. This little boy gives me a hug, said, you're really nice. He said, I didn't know because I kept looking at your sign and I wasn't sure if you were nice. And he said, you're very nice. And I said to the mother, you know, if there's anything that I would hope in being a real estate agent is that I was able, not always, but time to time, to impact people, to show some kindness, and, you know, really to show comfort and concern and caring, because it's never been about building a name for me. It's never been about, you know, do I want to be president of this or that or associations or whatever. I just wanted to help people. And the fact that that little boy, even though he recognized me, which we want to be recognized, but he didn't like me.
Yeah.
He walked away, he hugged me, he wished me Merry Christmas. And I just think this industry gives us that opportunity. You never know when you're not here if you were helpful to those people in a time that they really, really needed. So my legacy is just that when I'm not here, people say that was somebody that cared. And I hope so.
What an awesome story that is. And I, you know, I love the legacy that you're leaving behind. Marilyn, one last question for you. And, you know, I really appreciate you jumping on here and just, you know, pouring into the audience and just sharing your story, your journey, you know, into the business. If you could give, you know, our audience one piece of advice, you know, in real estate, whether it's something that you received early on, something that you give to agents if they ask you, you know, what is that piece of advice that you would give to the real estate community?
You know, I think we have to, as real estate agents, we have to understand that it's about the people. It's about the people. And if anyone wants to be successful in real estate, and I said this to a point a little earlier in our talk here, you have to do the best you can. It doesn't matter if we make mistakes or things happen. Do the very best you can. Mediocre is not going to make you happy. Mediocre is not going to make you successful. And mediocre is not going to make an impression on the people that you have the opportunity to work with. And remember, real estate consultants, it's an opportunity. And it is a true joy to be able to work with people in these capacities. So, give your best. And if you do your very best in this business, you will be successful. But I think quite often, maybe sometimes we don't push, or it's not our commitment, going back to what we talked about earlier. But do the very best you can. And real estate is not for everybody. And if it's not for you, recognize that, and good for trying, but move to something else, because this industry really does require that you do your best every day, the very best you can.
Marilyn, thanks so much for jumping on with us. Those that are watching, if you connected with her story, if you're a buyer, seller, investor, her phone number is down below. If you are a real estate agent and you just want to pick her brain and you want to connect with her about her coaching or just asking for guidance, clearly she is an open book. She wants to help. She wants to help you win. And so, Marilyn, thanks so much for today. For those that are listening in, on the podcast version, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
I would call my phone or leave a text. Sometimes, my phone gets full with messages, but the phone is the best way. And I just encourage agents, answer your phone. I was with an agent the other day, and I'll leave this one thing, and thank you so much for your time, John. He looks at the phone while we're talking, and he said, "I don't know that number. I'll get back to it later." I said, "Oh my gosh, you're making me crazy." I said, "Pick up the phone. Maybe they saw a marketing piece. Maybe they've seen, your Instagram." Answering the phone is important, guys. I will answer, or I'll text you back as soon as I can.
Yeah. Marilyn, thanks so much. I appreciate you and coming on here and sharing. If I can do anything for you in the future, please reach out. I'm here to help you on your journey and anything that I can do for you. I appreciate you. And I know, we've been in the business for a while together, and first time we've got to really connect we'll call it face-to-face, but it's not really face-to-face, but we'll stay connected, and I look forward to helping you continue to grow in the future.
Thank you, John. And thank you for doing this. I think it's a great tool for people. You tell Ryan I said hello, and I wish you all happy holidays.
Thank you so much. And I'll let him know. I'll talk to you later.